Hi everybody, my name is Elizabeth. I am one of two undergraduate advisors here at the U for the Entertainment Arts and Engineering BS in Games degree. So I'm also joined by Kelly Olson, who is our other undergraduate advisor. Kelly, I'll let you say hi. Oh, you know what? Kelly might be muted. Anyways, Kelly is here with us. She's going to be watching the chat. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention is that for this session, please, I guess, remain muted during the explanation of the degree, but please unmute if you have questions. I will ask for questions often, and so if you have some, please feel free to speak up because it sometimes helps other people too, maybe answer a question that they also have. Or if you feel more comfortable putting it in the chat, Kelly will be monitoring that and she will answer those questions. So we will go ahead and just dive right in. I wanted to make a distinction really quickly. So this is actually one of two game development degrees at the University of Utah. So this one is going to focus on kind of the art side of the game development process. So mostly students will be taking art-based courses. Very little programming is involved in this degree, very little math. There is a CS degree, so a computer science degree with an emphasis in EAE that is also offered, but that is a separate degree. And that is going to be more appropriate for students wanting to go into engineering or programming. So I did want to say that. Do we have any questions really quickly about that? Okay, so I will ask Kelly, I know that she'll do this, but I'm going to ask her to put the curriculum for that computer science side in the chat box just so that you can look over that if that's something that you're also interested in. But today we will be focusing on the art side. So when you're starting out in this program, really you just need to be accepted to the University of Utah and then start taking the prerequisites for the major. There's no additional application to get into the program. You just need to finish the 4 pre-major courses and then achieve the right GPA. So when you're starting, in the first semester, you will take Survey of Games and Comp 1010, Programming for All 1. So Survey of Games is going to be really kind of a game history class, but also you're going to be learning quite a bit about the industry, and you'll have the opportunity to hear from different guest speakers from industry, from each area and each position in industry. So you'll have the opportunity to hear from a designer, maybe a writer, a technical artist, a producer, a game artist, and they will tell you what they do in their day-to-day job. You actually have the opportunity to submit questions the class period before they come, and then they'll address those questions when they come and talk to your class. So super important class, especially because it kind of gets students thinking about maybe the direction that they want to take. Now, the second class that they'll take in their first semester is Comp 1010, and this is one half of our programming series. So Comp 1010 is going to cover the first half of object-oriented programming. You'll also learn Python as your programming language. And then in the second semester, you'll go ahead and take Comp 1020, which will build upon that knowledge. In addition, in your second semester, you'll take EAE 1050, Digital Content Creation, and that class teaches you all of your art fundamentals. So you're learning tools that are used in industry all the time. So Maya, which is used for 3D modeling, Photoshop, and ZBrush are the big ones. So again, once students have finished those 4 pre-major courses, as long as they've achieved about a 3.0 pre-major GPA, which in terms of a letter grade is about a B average in each of those classes, and they have a 2.75 GPA overall, they can come sit down with Kelly or I, and we can move them into the full major, which is the status that they'll need to have to be able to graduate with this degree. So again, yeah, that's how you gain entry to the full major. Do we have questions about that? Okay. So this second section here, these are your general education requirements. So these are 53 hours worth of your degree that are going towards gen eds. Now, What we've given you here are either suggestions or the exact course that you'll need to take for this degree. So when you look to the left, you'll see codes. So you'll see WR2, CW, IR, DV. These stand for different types of gen ed courses. So intermediate writing, upper division writing, international, diversity, American institutions. So you just need to fulfill each of these requirements before you graduate with your degree. So you will spread these out over your 4 years. You're not going to front load them, you'll balance them. Now, these classes are going to be mostly up to you. Now, we've given you some suggestions here. When you look under intellectual exploration requirement, we've given you some suggestions for classes that fit nicely with this degree. So you can see English 2090. That's an example of a class that fulfills one of your fine arts or your humanities requirements, but it's very relevant to students in this degree because it focuses on interactive fiction and game narrative. It's a fantastic teacher and a super, super great class. So if you get the opportunity to take this class towards your gen eds, it's a really great use of that requirement. And I guess the point is you can take courses that are relevant to your degree even when you're pursuing your gen eds. So your advisor can help you pick out your gen eds. There are way more options than just the ones listed here. But again, we've given you some suggestions for courses that fit nicely with the degree. A couple of other things. For your general eds, you don't need to take a language because this is a Bachelor of Science. Even though this is focused on kind of the art side, you are still coming out of the College of Engineering and you are still getting a Bachelor of Science. So no language is required. That being said, we have a lot of students who are interested in languages, particularly a lot of students who want to pursue Japanese or Chinese. And they will often get a minor in one of those areas, which can be beneficial, particularly if you're, one day looking to enter industry and go to a company like Sony, where you may be interacting with people who speak that language. So again, students are often interested in pursuing a minor in a language, even though it's not required. Let's see, so those are the gen eds. Do we have questions about those? Okay, so this next section here, these are your major requirements. So this is really where you start to dive into kind of the meat of the major. At the top here, we have Ethics in Games. This is a course that will come during your second year. So the prereq for this class is actually your intermediate writing class for your gen eds. And the reason for that is because there is a fair amount of writing required in this course, which is not typical for our degree, actually. Most of our classes are going to be project-based courses, which just means that you're mostly working in teams and you're working on hands-on projects. But this one is more discussion-based, and you are learning about different ethical theories that you've maybe heard about before, but you're using video games as kind of a lens to understand those things. So it's kind of a cool and different approach to ethics that is particularly interesting for students in our degree. Traditional and alternative game development comes after that here on the list. And these classes are taken during your third year or your junior year. They're taken at separate times, not together. But these are super important because they are preparing you for your capstone or your senior project. So you are working in small teams, and you're working to develop games. In alternative game development, you will be working on mostly two-dimensional games, but in traditional, you're actually going to start working on some 3D stuff. And again, it's really prepping you for what you'll be doing in the senior project. You'll learn about different engines actually throughout the program, because the idea is that we want to expose you to all of the different game engines that are out there so that when it comes time to make your game during your senior project, you'll be able to choose with your team the engine that's going to work the best for your particular game. I did want to mention that there's a very important class that students should take during their second year. It is noted here on the list, but it's written next to traditional and alternative game development, but it's EAE 3010. And this is Assets Pipeline. And this course takes students through the art pipeline and the team pipeline for games, essentially kind of the process of making a game from start to finish, which is so important before taking alternative or traditional or capstone. So you may just want to make a note that that class needs to be taken sometime during the second year if a student pursues this degree. Obviously, Kelly and I can help students stay on track for that, but that is an important class. That brings us to the senior project, which is kind of the pinnacle of this program and what makes it so unique. And that is that this senior project or the capstone project, this is a mini industry simulation. So students who are coming out of the senior project essentially have like 9 months of industry experience in a sense, because they are going to be working in small teams. They'll actually be working and they'll develop their own little LLC. So they essentially have a mini studio that they're working in when they're in their capstone. And then together with their team, and by the way, these teams are made up of students from the CS-EAE degree, so that engineering programming side and the BS in games, the art side. And together, students will make and publish their own video game, and they will own the intellectual property to that game when they graduate. So that is fully their game when they leave the program. Do we have any questions about that at all, or any of the major classes? I'll give you just a minute.
A quiet chat.
Okay. Well, again, yeah, if you guys have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I know it's a lot of information.
Oh, and I just want to say too, in case you're debating asking something, you can always just select to send the question directly to me on the list instead of to everyone if you think it is only applicable to you, and I can just answer that way as well. So don't be shy.
Perfect, thank you. So one thing I wanted to mention is if you wanted to get a feel for what our students have done in the past, there's a couple of opportunities for that. So if you go to our website, which Kelly, would you mind linking our games.utah.edu in the chat?
Yep.
Thank you. So if you go to our website and click on the Student Games tab in the menu bar on the right, then you'll see all of our student games up to this point. And they are all on Steam. So if you have a Steam account, you'll be able to actually go in and play those games. So that would be the #1 opportunity to get familiar with what our students have done before. But we're also doing an event on December 4th that would normally be in person, but of course we're doing it virtually. It's going to be streamed on Twitch, and it's also going to be linked on our website. So I will ask Kelly to also link that if possible. But that is where our capstone students that are in their senior year will show, along with our graduate students, the games they've been working on with their teams for the full year. So they will be doing walkthroughs, play testing, and then you'll also have the opportunity to hear from some industry guests. So it's, again, a really great way to get familiar with what our students are doing, but also just the EAE program in general and the types of things, then the types of events that we hold. So yes, that would be a great opportunity to see some of the games in action. Okay, so we're gonna dive into the EAE electives, but I'll just take another second and just make sure there are no questions.
So I've just linked the to EAE Play. So if you want to save the date for that and get that information for December 4th. And then right now I am linking the direct link to our website with the student games. So you can just go straight to those student games that Elizabeth was just mentioning if you're interested.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, so let's see here. So that brings us to our electives section, which again, super cool part of the program because it's kind of unique for students to be able to pick all 10 of their electives, right? Most degrees are going to have at least some of those chosen for you, but in this program, you are choosing all 10 of these based on what you're most interested in and kind of what you want to do in games. Now, the way that this works is you pick an area of interest. So the options are game design, game art, technical art, and game production. So for most of these, for 3 of these areas, design, game art, and technical art, you are just simply going to choose classes that we offer that fall under that particular area of interest. So for game artists, you may be choosing classes like digital painting, concept art, illustration techniques, 3D modeling. For technical artists, those are people who often have both programming and art skills. So they may do things like rigging or animation of a character's skeleton in a game, 3D modeling, advanced 3D modeling, machinima. There are classes that are for each of these areas. If you're a designer, then you would take any of the game design classes that we offer, level design, intro to game design. Production's different though. So producers are essentially team managers. And in EAE, what we have you do for that is actually you would do a little bit of dabbling. Rather than just focusing everything around one area, you would want to try some different types of classes, because when you think about it, a manager should have a decent understanding of a little bit of what each person on their team is doing. In addition to that, you would want to take any of our design classes that we offer, and then you also get the opportunity to take one elective outside of EAE. And that's typically going to be in like a business or a communication class, or a management course. There are some really fantastic, sorry about that, there are some really fantastic management classes out of the business school that would be perfect for producers. So again, producers are dabbling a little bit, they're taking that outside elective, they're taking design courses, but everybody else are focusing their elective choices around that area of interest as much as possible. And of course, your advisor is here to help you pick classes within that area if you ever have questions about what you should be taking. And in the beginning, of course, you might not know exactly what your area of interest is, and it's completely fine to experiment in the beginning. But as you go through the program, it's in your best interest to kind of pick one area to focus on. So yeah, do we have any questions about that? I saw the question about animation. Yeah, animation, we offer intro to animation, we offer advanced animation courses. There's actually a full animation minor out of the film department that often students will do in addition to this degree. So yeah, definitely. Any other questions? Anything at all? Okay. Well, that brings us to our last area, and these are your allied hours. So these are 4 classes that you are taking in a minimum of 2, I guess you're taking them from a minimum of 2 departments outside of EAE. So kind of similar to how electives work within EAE, you are choosing classes that are related to that area of interest, but you're taking them from outside of the program. So we have this list here. You get to choose anything from the list that falls in line with your area of interest. So to give you an idea, let's just say that you are super interested in pursuing design. You might want to take some classes from both the design department. That intro to design thinking class is great. And then maybe also architecture. Like intro to architecture can be really, really great for designers, particularly level designers, to start thinking about the architecture of what they're building. Also, if you're interested, let's just say you were interested in narrative, then you would maybe want to take the storyboarding class from film, along with the English 2090 video games and storytelling class, if you haven't already taken it for your gen ed. So you get the idea. You're just choosing courses that fit with your area of interest, but from 2 separate departments outside of EAE. So just another way to boost that skill. Yes. So do we have any other questions about anything that we've talked about so far? Because that is the full curriculum. Happy to answer any questions. Okay.
I don't know if you're gonna get into this in the future, but for the esports, like in general, like how does that work? Like what games and stuff like that?
Totally. So good question. I was actually just about to bring that up, so thank you. So with esports, we do have 4 teams at the varsity level. So we have Rocket League, League of Legends, Hearthstone, and Overwatch. So if you are ranked highly enough, and remember, this is just for the varsity, but you do need to be diamond level or grandmaster or above to be able to qualify to try out. And if you do, then the tryouts are held every fall. I will share our esports director information so that you can reach out to him if you're interested. But yes, those are the 4 teams. And again, this is a varsity level sport. So you will be offered a scholarship through the EAE department or the EAE program, as well as a trainer and a nutritionist, just like any other varsity sport. So yes, does that answer your question about esports? Do you have more questions?
So like at a like JV level, just lower levels, is that like every sport? Do scholarships come with that or no?
So it's different at so when it's not at the varsity level, it's actually a club team. So it's called Crimson Gaming, and it's actually university wide. So it's not just students who are in EAE. And we could definitely get you connected. I think they have a Discord. But they play way more games than just the 4 that I mentioned. So they're doing Fortnite, they're doing Smash, like they do a bunch of different types of games, but they still do it at the team level, just not at the varsity level. So if you wanted to be involved kind of just more casually, that would be the way to go. And again, that's Crimson Gaming. So we will try and find their information and link that for you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Great question. Any other questions about anything? Oh, cool. Thanks, Kelly. Kelly put AJ's information in the chat. AJ is our director of esports, and he would be more than happy to hear from you, I'm sure. Any other questions?
I was on mute. I'm getting the Crimson Gaming info right now.
Oh, thanks, Kelly.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess one other thing that I wanted to mention is that when it comes to internships, because this is a common question, people often want to know, where does an internship fit in? How do I get one? So with our program, internships usually come after you finish capstone. And that's for a very specific reason. We have an industry relations manager and a career advisor who used to work in industry himself. His name is Adam Hunter. He will work with you during your senior year to prep you for an internship opportunity. So we're not going to give you the internship opportunity, but he's going to be blasting out open internships to you during your entire capstone year. So you will know what's out there, what's available, and then you'll have the opportunity to apply for it. So the hope is that you'll leave with an internship opportunity that will hopefully turn into a position at that company. Adam will also do resume workshops. He'll meet with you one-on-one if you'd like, to help you understand maybe what's expected, what you should be preparing in terms of like a portfolio or a resume. But yes, you are coming out again of capstone with essentially a full year of kind of industry experience anyways, plus a published game. But then on top of that, you will hopefully have an internship opportunity that you've been able to apply for when you graduate from the program. So I did just want to mention that as well. So I've kind of gone through everything that I had to say. Does anybody else have any questions at all that we can answer? Okay. Well, Kelly, can you think of anything else that we should mention? I know there's open advising after this.
There is. Yep. So I'll start open advising in about 3 minutes. The link should be on the webpage. If you have any questions, continue there. Yeah, I think we covered everything. But if you think of something later, reach out to us. Oh, if you are interested in like more of the computer science side of the degree, now that you've listened to our presentation, I'm going to put in here the email address for those advisors. So it's ugrad-help@cs.utah.edu. So if you have more questions that are specifically about the software engineering side of the degree or their minor, reach out to them. And then it looks like Elizabeth has our information on the page, so you can reach out to us.
Yes. Yeah, and this includes Kelly and me and Adam, our industry guy that I just mentioned, and as well as AJ, who's our director of esports. So those would probably be the most relevant to you at this point. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us. Kelly and I will both be in the open advising portion, so we may see you there. But thank you so much for joining us. And if we don't see you again, we hope you have a great weekend. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, is there one more question? We have another question? No, we're good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Bye.